enemies poisoned the Korean Mafia boss with a toxin that could only be neutralized by a matching blood type. Everyone stepped back, except the black waitress. The lunch rush was dying down when the wine glass moved toward Choi Sung's lips. Afternoon sunlight streamed through Vermilion's floor-to-ceiling windows, catching the liquid. Deep red, expensive, the kind of wine that cost more than Lena's monthly rent. But there was something wrong with the way it moved in that crystalline October light. Too viscous, too dark, like blood that had been left to thicken. It was 2:17 p.m. on a Thursday. Lena had been watching the clock, counting down until her shift ended at 3. Her feet ached in the required black heels. Her lower back protested from carrying trays since the morning shift started at 10. She'd been planning her escape, grab her jacket, catch the 3:15 bus, get home in time to soak in a hot bath before her second job at the convenience store started at 6. But now all thoughts of buses and baths evaporated, because something was very, very wrong with Table 7. She'd been a waitress at Vermilion for 3 months, long enough to recognize the regulars, to know which tables demanded constant attention and which preferred to be invisible. Table 7 was always the latter, the Korean man who came every Thursday at exactly 2 p.m., never evening, always afternoon, ordering the same thing, rare steak, no sides, and a bottle of Chateau Margaux 2015. He ate quickly, efficiently, usually finished by 2:45, then disappeared until next week. The timing was deliberate, Lena had realized. The restaurant was quieter at 2 p.m. The lunch crowd had thinned. Dinner service hadn't begun. Fewer witnesses, fewer complications. Perfect for a man who traveled with armed security and paid exclusively in cash. Lena had served him twice in 3 months. His usual server, Marcus, handled Table 7 religiously. Both times she'd covered his section, Choi Sung had barely acknowledged her existence beyond a curt nod. But he'd left a $1,000 tip each time, cash placed precisely in the center of the bill folder, and walked out without waiting for change or gratitude. Her co-workers whispered about him. Choi Sung, 20, 8 years old, Korean, some kind of businessman, definitely dangerous, probably connected. Money launderer, some said. Arms dealer, others insisted. The general manager shut down speculation immediately whenever he overheard, face pale with fear, but the whispers persisted in the kitchen, the break room, anywhere management couldn't hear. Today, the whispers seemed justified. Today, everything felt wrong. The security was different. 6 men instead of the usual 3, positioned at strategic points around the dining room. Their suits were expensive, but couldn't quite hide the weapons beneath. They weren't even trying. Table 7 sat in its usual spot by the window, but the men had moved closer, tighter, forming a perimeter that screamed danger to anyone paying attention. Most patrons weren't. The remaining lunch crowd, wealthy West Side professionals enjoying overpriced Italian cuisine, studiously ignored the armed men. Plausible deniability. See nothing, know nothing, post your truffle pasta on Instagram, and pretend the world isn't complicated. But Lena saw everything. 3 months as a waitress had honed her observation skills. 6 years before that as a nursing student, before she dropped out when her mother got sick, when medical bills devoured her tuition fund, had taught her to notice details others missed. The micro expressions, the body language, the tiny signs that something was very wrong, and everything about today was wrong. Choi Sung sat rigid in his chair, jaw clenched so tight Lena could see the muscle jumping from across the room. His phone was face up on the table. Unusual, he usually kept it away, and his eyes kept flicking to it like he was expecting something. News, a message, a warning. His security team was wound tight. One man's hand rested inside his jacket, clearly gripping a weapon. Another kept turning to scan the entrance, the kitchen doors, the windows, looking for threats from every angle. This wasn't normal paranoia. This was active danger response. And then there was the sommelier. Lena had been refilling water glasses at table 4 when she'd noticed him. A Korean man, mid-30s, approaching table 7 with a bottle of wine. She'd never seen him before. Vermilion's wine staff was small, exclusive. 3 sommeliers total, all of whom she knew by name. This man was a stranger. He moved wrong, too stiff, too nervous. Sweat gleamed on his upper lip despite the restaurant's perfect climate control. His hands trembled as he presented the bottle to Choi Sung, The Chateau Margaux 2015, the same wine he always ordered. But something about the presentation was off. Choi Sung barely glanced at the bottle, attention locked on his phone. A text had just appeared. Lena couldn't read it from 15 feet away, but she saw his expression harden, saw his free hand curl into a fist. The sommelier's trembling got worse. He fumbled the wine opener, dropped it, had to bend to retrieve it from the polished floor. When he stood, his face was flushed, eyes darting toward the exit like a trapped animal calculating escape routes. Lena's instincts screamed. Something was about to happen. Something bad. She should have looked away, should have focused on her own tables, on the couple at table 4 waiting for their check, on the business lunch at table 6 that needed more bread. Should have remembered that table 7 wasn't her problem, that dangerous men handled their own dangers, that a smart waitress kept her head down and her mouth shut. But Lena had never been particularly smart about self-preservation. That's what her best friend Shanice always said. Girl, you got a hero complex. Gonna get yourself killed one day trying to save somebody who don't want saving. The sommelier was opening the wine now. His hands shook so badly that Lena wondered how he didn't drop the bottle. Choi Sung still wasn't paying attention, absorbed in whatever message had appeared on his phone. His security team watched the room, the windows, the doors, but not the wine being poured at their boss's table. Why would they? Wine service was normal, expected, the perfect cover. Lena moved closer, not consciously, just drifting that direction while pretending to check on nearby tables. Close enough now to see the sommelier's face clearly, to see the terror in his eyes, the resignation, the look of a man who knew he was already dead, but had to complete his task anyway. He pulled the cork. The sound was soft, muffled by the dining room's ambient noise. Quiet conversation, clinking silverware, acoustic jazz playing from hidden speakers. No one else noticed. No one else cared. The sommelier inspected the cork with shaking hands. Protocol, normal. Everything appearing exactly as it should, but Lena saw his right hand move to his jacket pocket, saw something small palm between his fingers, saw him turn slightly away from Choi Sung's line of sight, and then, as he tipped the bottle to pour, his right hand moved over the glass, just for a second, so quick, so smooth. The small object, a capsule, Lena realized with horror, dropped into the wine, dissolved instantly in the liquid. Her breath stopped. Time crystallized. Every sound in the restaurant became sharp, distinct. The clatter of dishes in the kitchen, the laugh from table 3, the jazz piano doing something complicated and beautiful. All of it background noise to the sight of that poison wine being poured into crystal. The sommelier filled the glass exactly 1/3 full. Proper wine service. Textbook presentation. His hands had stopped shaking now that the deed was done. The fear in his eyes had been replaced by something else. Acceptance. Finality. He stepped back, gestured to the glass with forced formality. Chateau Margaux 2015, sir. A particularly exceptional vintage. Choi Sung finally looked up from his phone. His expression was carved granite. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, eyes that held a particular kind of exhaustion Lena recognized from her nursing school days. The look of someone who'd seen too much, survived too much, and was tired of constantly fighting. He reached for the glass. His fingers were long, elegant, at odds with the violence his security promised. No rings, no jewelry except a watch that probably cost 6 figures. His movements were controlled, economical, the precision of someone who wasted nothing. Not motion, not words, not trust. The glass lifted from the table. Afternoon sunlight caught the wine, turned it luminous, beautiful, deadly. Lena was moving before conscious thought. Her body reacted while her brain was still processing, still cataloging evidence, still wondering if she was wrong, if she was about to make the most embarrassing mistake of her life. But she'd seen the capsule drop, seen the sommelier's terror, seen the calculation in his eyes of a man completing a suicide mission. And she'd spent enough time in hospitals, watched enough patients die, to recognize the specific quality of danger that preceded death. She crossed 15 feet in seconds that felt like hours. Her sensible black shoes, required uniform, purchased from Payless because designer wasn't in her budget, made no sound on the imported marble. The empty water pitcher in her hand became an excuse, a prop, a reason to be moving toward table 7. Choi Sung's lips parted. The glass tilted. Wine touched his mouth. Just the barest contact, not even a full sip yet. Lena's hand shot out, grabbed his wrist, knocked the glass away from his face with more force than she'd intended. Everything happened at once. The wine glass flew through the air, tumbling end over end, wine spraying in an arc that caught the afternoon light like liquid rubies. It hit the marble floor and exploded. Crystal shattered into 1,000 pieces, the sound sharp and violent in the quiet restaurant. The sommelier bolted, knocked over a chair in his panic, headed straight for the kitchen entrance. Made it 3 steps before one of Choi Sung's security team clotheslined him. The man went down hard, face smashing into marble with a crunch that made Lena flinch. And 6 guns appeared, pointed at Lena's head. The restaurant went silent, completely, utterly silent. Conversations died mid-word. Silverware froze mid-motion. Even the jazz piano seemed to stutter to a halt, though that was probably just Lena's imagination, her brain processing too much information too fast. She stood frozen, hands still extended, from where she'd knocked the glass away, heart hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat. 6 guns, 6 men who looked like they'd kill her without hesitation, without remorse, without a second thought. The nearest weapon was maybe 2 feet from her face, close enough to see the serial number filed off, close enough to see the man's finger resting on the trigger guard, not quite ready to fire, but close. So close. Wait! Choi Sung's voice cut through the frozen moment like a blade through water. One word, accented, Korean underneath English that was too perfect, too practiced, but the authority in it was absolute, universal, the voice of someone accustomed to instant obedience. The guns didn't disappear, but they lowered, fractionally. Just enough that Lena could breathe again, could feel the adrenaline crash starting in her hands, making them shake. Choi Sung looked at her, really looked. His eyes were dark brown, nearly black in the afternoon light, and held an intelligence that made her feel stripped bare. Analyzed, assessed for threat level and usefulness in the span of seconds. Why? Not a question, a demand. Lena's mouth was dry. Her tongue felt thick, useless, but she'd come this far. Might as well finish the journey into whatever hell she just created. The wine. Something's wrong with it. The sommelier. She turned her head slightly, careful not to make sudden movements with 6 guns still in play. He's not regular staff, and he put something in your glass. I saw him. Choi Sung's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Calculation. Possibility. The rapid processing of threat assessment and next steps. He looked past Lena to where his security team had the sommelier pinned. The man's face was bleeding from where it had hit marble. His arm was twisted behind his back at an angle that looked painful. Sang woo. Choi Sung's eyes found his head of security, a brutal-looking man with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow and hands that looked like they'd broken countless bones. Secure him and test the wine. Full analysis. Everything. The man, Sang Woo, nodded once, sharp, military, then gestured to 2 others. They hauled the sommelier up, dragged him toward the kitchen. He didn't fight, didn't protest, just went limp, dead weight, like he'd already accepted whatever came next. Another security team member was already kneeling by the spilled wine, pulling on latex gloves that appeared from nowhere, carefully collecting shattered crystal and wine. Soaked debris into evidence bags. The efficiency was military grade, practiced, like they'd done this before. The remaining 4 guns stayed trained on Lena. She tried not to think about that, tried to focus on breathing, in, out, like her nursing instructor had taught her during trauma rotations. Control your breath, control your panic. Your name. Still not a question. Lena Baptiste. Her voice was steadier than she'd expected, than she had any right to be with 4 guns pointed at her center mass. I'm a server here. I've worked here 3 months. The words caught. How did you explain instinct? Intuition? The sudden certainty that someone was about to die? I saw something wrong, and I reacted. You stopped me from drinking potentially poisoned wine. He said it slowly, testing the words, like he couldn't quite process the reality of what had just happened. Maybe. I don't know for sure. Lena's hands were shaking badly now. Adrenaline crash in full effect. The sommelier. He was new. Too nervous. And I saw him drop something into your glass while he was pouring. A capsule or something. It dissolved immediately. Choi Sung studied her in silence. The intensity of his gaze was physical, uncomfortable, like being dissected by someone who knew exactly which parts mattered and which could be discarded. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and something changed in his expression. Not much. Just a fractional tightening around his eyes. He stood, moved away from the table to take the call, spoke in rapid Korean, voice low and controlled, but carrying an edge that made Lena's spine prickle with instinctive recognition of danger. This was a man giving orders, demanding information, threatening consequences. The call lasted maybe 90 seconds. When he returned to the table, his expression had hardened further, if that was even possible. He looked at Lena again, and this time there was something else in his eyes, something that might have been respect, or suspicion, or calculation about what to do with the complication she'd become. Sang Woo caught the sommelier before he could leave the building. Choi Sung's voice was carefully neutral. Preliminary questioning suggests you were correct. He was paid to poison me. Tetrodotoxin, pufferfish poison, in a capsule designed to dissolve in alcohol. The words hit like a physical blow. Lena's knees went weak. She'd been right. She'd actually been right. This wasn't paranoia or overreaction, or the hero complex Shanice always warned about. That man had actually tried to kill Choi Sung. Would have succeeded if she hadn't intervened. Fatal dose? She heard herself ask. The nursing student in her brain needed to know, needed the clinical details. Within 4 to 6 minutes, paralysis, respiratory failure, cardiac arrest. His eyes never left her face. No antidote, no treatment, just death. Lena felt the room tilt slightly, had to lock her knees to stay upright. 4 to 6 minutes. That's how close he'd come. How close she'd been to watching a man die 15 feet away while serving lunch to oblivious patrons. Sit. Choi Sung gestured to the chair across from him. Not quite an order, but not quite a suggestion either. My tables... Lena looked around. The restaurant was still frozen, every patron staring. Some had their phones out, filming. The manager, Mr. DeMarco, stood by the host stand looking absolutely terrified, probably calculating lawsuits and bad publicity. Your tables are covered. Choi Sung pulled out the chair. Sit, please. The please decided it. Lena sat. Her legs thanked her. The chair was expensive, comfortable, normally reserved for wealthy patrons dropping hundreds on lunch. She felt out of place. Wrong. Like a costume drama extra who'd wandered onto the wrong set. Choi Sung sat across from her. Up close, he was even more striking than she'd realized from a distance. Sharp features that looked carved rather than born. High cheekbones. Strong jaw. A small scar above his right eye. Another at the corner of his mouth. Proof of violence survived. You saved my life. He said it like he was solving a complex equation. Like he needed to state the facts clearly to believe them. A stranger, a waitress, risked herself to save me. I didn't really risk anything. I just knocked over a glass of wine. You risked everything. His eyes held hers. You drew attention, made yourself visible, interfered with what could have been a clean hit. He leaned forward slightly. If you'd been wrong, if that wine was fine and I'd simply been angry about the interruption, you'd have lost your job, possibly faced assault charges, at minimum, humiliation. Lena hadn't thought that far ahead. Hadn't thought at all, really. Just moved on instinct. I couldn't watch someone die, not when I could prevent it. Why not? The question was genuine, curious. You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. I'm a stranger who tips well, but has never said more than 3 words to you. Why risk yourself for me? How did she explain? The nursing instinct drilled into her during school? The way her mother had raised her to help people regardless of who they were? The fundamental belief that life, any life, was worth saving? Because it was the right thing to do. The words sounded naive even to her own ears. Because you're a person, and people don't deserve to die from poison in their wine at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. Something shifted in Choi Sung's expression. Not quite a smile, but a softening, like she'd said something unexpected. Something that challenged his worldview in ways he wasn't quite ready to process. The right thing. He repeated the words like they were foreign. An interesting concept. Before Lena could respond, Sang-woo approached the table, leaned down to speak quietly in Korean. Choi Sung's expression hardened again. He responded in the same language, voice clipped and dangerous. Sang-woo nodded and disappeared back toward the kitchen. The sommelier is talking. Choi Sung turned back to Lena, confirming what we suspected. He was hired by the Park family, a rival organization. They wanted me dead before tonight's meeting. I'm sorry. It seemed inadequate. But what else could she say? Don't be. This is my world. Violence, betrayal, people trying to kill me before I kill them. He studied her face. A world you just entered the moment you saved my life, which makes you a complication I need to address. The threat was back, velvet-wrapped but unmistakable. Lena's mouth went dry. I'm not a complication. I'm a waitress who knocked over wine. That's all anyone else needs to know. Is it? His eyes flicked to the other patrons. The phone's recording, the staff whispering. You think that video won't be online within the hour? You think the Parks won't see it? Won't realize you stopped their plan? Won't wonder if you're connected to me somehow? Oh, God, she hadn't thought about that. Hadn't considered consequences beyond the immediate moment. But he was right. In the age of social media, nothing stayed private. Someone was probably already posting, hashtagging, making her visible to dangerous people. What do I do? Her voice came out smaller than intended. That depends. Choi Sung leaned back in his chair. I can offer you money, enough to disappear. New city, new identity, new life. You'd be safe, but you'd lose everything here. Lena thought about her mother in the nursing home, about the bills she was barely keeping up with, about her best friend Shanice and her tiny apartment, and the life she'd built from nothing. Leave all that? Become someone else? Run from consequences of doing the right thing? Or, she heard herself ask, or you stay. Let me protect you, which means accepting that your life just changed in ways you can't imagine, that you're now connected to me, to my world, whether you like it or not. Connected how? That remains to be determined. His phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, expression darkening, then stood abruptly. I need to handle this situation. Sang-woo will stay with you. Don't leave the restaurant until I return. But he was already moving, striding toward the kitchen with 3 security members falling into formation around him. Leaving Lena sitting at table 7, Sang-woo standing nearby like a silent promise of violence, while the afternoon light streamed through windows and illuminated the shattered crystal on the floor. Evidence of the moment her life had changed forever. Mr. DeMarco appeared at the table, sweating through his expensive shirt, hands clasped in supplication. Miss Baptiste, I need to ask you to, that is, given the circumstances, perhaps it would be best if she leaves, I leave. Sang-woo's English was accented but clear. And my employer just paid for exclusive use of this restaurant for the rest of the day. So Miss Baptiste stays. Unless you'd like to refund his money? The manager's face went pale. No, of course not. Miss Baptiste, please make yourself comfortable. Anything you need, on the house. He scurried away, already directing staff to clear the other patrons, to collect phones, to contain the damage. Within minutes, the dining room was empty except for Lena, Sang-woo, and 2 other security members positioned by the exits. Silence settled, heavy, oppressive, broken only by distant kitchen sounds and Lena's own breathing. She looked at the spilled wine, the shattered glass, the evidence bags being carefully labeled and stored, tried to process what had just happened, what it meant, how her shift had gone from boring lunch service to attempted assassination to whatever this was. How's your first assassination attempt? Sang-woo's voice startled her. She looked up to find him almost smiling. Almost. Terrifying. Would not recommend. 0 stars. That got a real smile. Brief but genuine. You did good work today, observant, quick. Most people would have frozen, or convinced themselves they were imagining things. I almost did. Convinced myself I was imagining it. Lena's hands were still shaking. She tucked them under the table, embarrassed. What happens now? Now, boss handles the situation, finds out who hired the assassin, how deep the plan went, what else might be coming. Make sure you're protected. Sang-woo's expression hardened. And makes the Parks understand that trying to kill him was a mistake they'll regret. By killing them back, This is not a world of police reports and legal proceedings, Miss Baptiste. This is a world of consequences. Direct, immediate, final. Lena thought she should be horrified. Should be calling the police, reporting attempted murder, trusting the system. But she'd grown up in South Central LA, had seen how well the system worked for people like her. How justice was a luxury the poor and black couldn't afford. I don't want anyone to die because of me. People won't die because of you. They'll die because they tried to kill my boss. Your only crime was having functioning eyes and a conscience. Sang-woo pulled out a chair, sat across from her. Which brings us to your future. My future? You can't go back to normal life, Miss Baptiste. Not after this. The parks will identify you. We'll wonder if you're connected to our organization. We'll consider you either a threat or leverage. But I'm nobody, just a waitress. You're the woman who saved Choi Sung's life. That makes you very much somebody, whether you want to be or not. The weight of it settled on Lena's shoulders. Heavy, suffocating. She'd done the right thing, saved a life, and now her own life was forfeit to consequences she hadn't chosen. What if I just leave town? Disappear? Boss will make that happen if you want. Give you money, new identity, new start somewhere safe. But Miss Baptiste, Sang-woo leaned forward. Running means leaving everything. Your mother in that nursing home. Your friends. Your life. Is that really what you want? No. God, no. Her mother had early onset Alzheimer's. Lena visited 3 times a week, the only constant in her mother's fading world. Leave her? Abandon her to care from strangers who didn't know that she'd once been a dancer? That she loved jazz? That she needed someone to hold her hand during the bad episodes? I can't leave my mother. Then you stay. Accept protection. Let boss figure out how to keep you safe while he handles the situation. And after, when the situation is handled, Sang-woo's expression turned unreadable. That depends on many things. But Miss Baptiste, understand this. You saved his life. In our world and our culture, that creates a debt, a bond. He won't forget it, won't let you just disappear back into normal life. Whether that's blessing or curse, he shrugged. Time will tell. Choi Sung returned 90 minutes later. His suit was still immaculate, his expression still controlled. But something had shifted. There was blood on his right hand, just a spot, barely visible against his skin. But Lena saw it, saw him notice her noticing, saw him pull out a handkerchief and wipe it away with methodical precision. The situation is contained. He sat across from her again. The parks will not be a problem, and I've made arrangements for your protection. What kind of arrangements? You'll move into one of my properties, a secured building downtown, 24-hour security, everything you need provided. I can't afford... You're not paying. I am. You saved my life. I'm ensuring yours remains intact. His tone brooked no argument. For how long? As long as necessary, until the parks understand that you're under my protection, that touching you means declaring war. He pulled out his phone, showed her photos of a luxury apartment, modern, expensive, nothing like her studio in Inglewood. You'll need to pack your things. Sang-woo will drive you. This is insane. This morning I was serving lunch. Now I'm moving into a fortress because I knocked over wine? This morning you were invisible. Now you're not. That change is permanent, Miss Baptiste. The only question is whether you accept reality or fight it. Lena wanted to fight, wanted to refuse to cling to her normal life, to pretend today hadn't happened. But Sang-woo was right. The parks would find her, would consider her either threat or leverage, and she couldn't risk her mother becoming collateral damage. Okay, the word felt like surrender. Okay, I'll move, but I need to see my mother. Need to explain... She stopped. How did you explain this to someone with Alzheimer's? Someone who barely remembered yesterday, let alone understood criminal organizations and assassination attempts? Your mother is already being moved to a better facility, one I own. Private care, best doctors, every resource she needs. Choi Sung's expression softened fractionally. She'll be safe, comfortable, and you can visit whenever you want. You can't just... You didn't even ask. I know everything about you, Miss Baptiste. Lena Baptiste, age 26, raised in South Central by single mother Diana Baptiste. Nursing school dropout at 21 when your mother was diagnosed. 2 jobs to pay for her care. No other family. Best friend named Shanice, who works in fashion retail. $3,000 in debt, most of it medical bills. His eyes held hers. I know you. I know what matters to you. So I protected it. All of it. Anger flared hot in Lena's chest. That's invasion of privacy. That's survival. You think I let people close to me without knowing everything about them? You saved my life, which means you're close to me now, whether you intended to be or not. I didn't ask for any of this. Neither did I. But here we are, so we adapt. He stood buttoning his jacket with precise movements. Sang-woo will take you to collect your things. Your new apartment is ready. And Miss Baptiste, he paused at the table's edge. Thank you for seeing what others missed, for acting when others would have frozen, for saving a life that most people would consider not worth saving. Why would they think that? Because of who I am, what I do, the blood on my hands. His smile was sharp, bitter. But you didn't know any of that when you stopped me from drinking poison? You just saw a person about to die. That kind of instinct, it's rare, precious, and now it's bound to me, to my world. I'm sorry for that. But also, he trailed off, expression unreadable. Not sorry. He left before Lena could respond. Left her sitting at table 7 with afternoon light fading to gold, with shattered crystal on marble, with the weight of changed reality settling into her bones. The drive to her apartment was surreal. Lena sat in the back of a black Mercedes, Sang-woo driving, another security member in the passenger seat. They moved through LA traffic like water around rocks, smooth, efficient, other cars somehow sensing they should get out of the way. Her phone buzzed constantly. Shanice had called 17 times. Texts flooded in. Girl, where are you? I saw a video. Some viral thing about a waitress at Vermilion. That looks like you? Call me, Lena typed back. Can't talk now. I'm fine. We'll explain later. Inadequate. But what else could she say? Hey, I saved a Mafia boss from poison, and now I'm moving into his protected building? Shanice would think she'd lost her mind. Her apartment building looked different somehow. Smaller. Shabby in ways she'd stopped noticing. The security gate was broken. Had been for months. The parking lot had potholes. Graffiti decorated the ground floor walls. Home. But also not home anymore. Not safe. How long do I have? She asked Sang. Woo. Take what you need. We'll send movers for the rest tomorrow. Her studio apartment was exactly as she'd left it that morning. Unmade bed, coffee cup in the sink, scrubs laid out for the nursing home visit she'd planned for after her shift. A life interrupted mid-sentence. Lena packed mechanically. Clothes, toiletries, photos of her mother, the stuffed elephant from childhood, her nursing textbooks that she couldn't quite throw away. Everything that mattered fit into 2 suitcases and a backpack. 6 years of adult life condensed into luggage. She was zipping the second suitcase when her door crashed open. Sang-woo moved faster than Lena's eyes could track. 1 second he was by the window. Next second he was between her and the door, gun drawn, another security member flanking. But it was just Shanice. Beautiful, dramatic Shanice in designer heels and perfect makeup, eyes wild with concern. Lena, oh my God, what is happening? There's men downstairs saying I can't come up. And then I told them I'd kick their asses, and she stopped. Took in the guns, the packed suitcases, Lena's expression. Girl, what did you do? I saved someone's life. Lena's voice cracked. And now everything is different. Shanice pushed past Sang-woo, who looked torn between admiration and annoyance, and pulled Lena into a fierce hug. Start from the beginning. Tell me everything. So Lena did, sitting on her bed while Sang-woo pretended not to listen. While afternoon turned to evening outside, she explained the poison wine, the assassination attempt, Choi Sung's world, the protection being forced on her. Okay, Shanice processed for a long moment. Okay, so you're basically living a K-drama now. Got it. This isn't a drama. This is my life falling apart. Or coming together in a weird way. Shanice squeezed her hand. Lena, you've been barely surviving. 2 jobs, broke, exhausted. Now you're in a luxury apartment, Your mom's getting better care, and you're protected by a hot Korean mafia boss who owes you his life. That's not falling apart. That's weird-ass upward mobility. He's not hot, and this isn't upward mobility. This is danger. He's absolutely hot. I saw the pictures online, and yes, it's dangerous. But girl, you've been in danger your whole life. Different kind, but just as real. At least now you've got resources to fight back. The logic was twisted but not entirely wrong. Lena had been one medical emergency away from homelessness for years. One missed shift from eviction. One more bill from complete financial collapse. At least now she had some security, even if it came with armed guards and assassination attempts. I'm scared. Good. Smart people are scared of huge life changes. But you're also brave as hell. You literally saved a man from poison without thinking about consequences. So yeah, be scared. But also trust yourself. You've survived worse than this. Sang-woo cleared his throat. Miss Baptiste, we should go. Night is when things get complicated. Lena nodded, hugged Shanice one more time. I'll call you, I promise. You better. And Lena, don't fall for the dangerous hot guy. That never ends well. I won't. You're lying, but I love you anyway. The new apartment was on the 23rd floor of a downtown building that screamed money. Floor 2, ceiling windows overlooked the city lights. Modern furniture that probably cost more than Lena's car. A kitchen with appliances she didn't know how to use. Security is stationed on this floor and the one below. Sang-woo showed her the panic button by the door, the security cameras, the reinforced locks. You need anything, you call. Someone is always available. This feels like a prison. A nice prison, but still. It's protection. Learn the difference. He left her alone in luxury that felt alien. Lena wandered through rooms that echoed with her footsteps, touched furniture she was afraid to sit on, stared out windows at a city that looked different from this height, like someone else's life, someone successful and important, and nothing like her. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Baptiste, it's Choi Sung. Are you settled? His voice sounded different on the phone. Warmer somehow. Less controlled. I'm in the apartment. I don't know if settled is the right word. I understand. This is a lot to process. But you're safe there, I promise. Why are you doing this? You said thank you. You could have just paid me off and forgotten I existed. Silence for a long moment. Then, you saved my life without knowing who I was, without expecting reward. That kind of selflessness is rare in my world. Rare anywhere. I don't forget debts like that. So this is just duty? You're protecting me out of obligation? Another pause. Longer. I'm protecting you because the thought of something happening to you, because you saved me, is unacceptable. Beyond unacceptable. I've done many terrible things, Miss Baptiste. Let me do one good thing. Let me keep you safe. Something in his voice made Lena's chest tighten. Vulnerability wrapped in control, like he was revealing more than he'd intended. What happens when I'm not in danger anymore? When the parks move on? I don't know. The honesty was surprising. But I suspect by then, we'll have figured out what you mean to me. Beyond debt. Beyond obligation. I should go. Sleep well, Lena. Tomorrow we'll talk about your future. All the options. All the possibilities. He hung up before she could respond. Lena stood in her new apartment, phone pressed to her ear, heart racing from the way he'd said her name. Like it mattered. Like she mattered. This was dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with assassination attempts. 3 days passed in strange suspension. Lena couldn't work. Too dangerous. Couldn't leave the building without security. Couldn't do anything except exist in luxurious captivity while Choi Sung handled the situation. But she wasn't alone. He visited every evening. Brought dinner from restaurants she couldn't afford. Sat across from her at the dining table. Talked about everything except his criminal empire. Asked about her nursing school days, her mother, her dreams before life got complicated. You wanted to be a pediatric nurse. He said it like discovering something precious. Why? Because kids deserve advocates, someone who sees them as whole people, not just symptoms. Lena pushed her Thai food around her plate. And because when I was 8, I was in a car accident. The nurse who took care of me, Miss Patricia, she was the first adult who talked to me like I mattered. Like my fear and pain were important. I wanted to be that for other kids. What stopped you? Money, always money. My mom got sick. Insurance covered almost nothing. Tuition was due. I had to choose between school and keeping her in a facility that treated her like a person instead of a problem. Lena met his eyes. Easy choice, really. You gave up your dream to care for her. She gave up everything to raise me, worked 3 jobs so I could go to college, sacrificed her health, her social life, any chance at happiness, all for me. So yeah, when she needed me, there was no question. Choi Sung was quiet for a long moment. Then, my mother died when I was 12. Cancer. Slow and terrible. My father worked constantly, building the empire. So I sat with her, held her hand, watched her fade. His voice was carefully controlled, but something bled through. At the end, she made me promise to take care of him, to honor the family, to be strong. That's a heavy burden for a 12-year-old. It made me who I am. Whether that's good or bad, he shrugged. I don't know anymore. They talked until midnight, about mothers and obligations and dreams deferred, and Lena felt the walls around her heart, built so carefully after years of disappointment, starting to crack. On the 4th day, everything went to hell. Lena was making coffee when the apartment door crashed open. Not knocked, not unlocked. Crashed. The reinforced frame splintering like kindling. 4 men poured in. Korean. Armed. Moving with military precision. One grabbed Lena before she could scream. Hand over her mouth, gun pressed to her temple. Make a sound and you die. Accented English. Cold. Practiced. Lena's nursing training kicked in. Assess. Surveil. Stay calm. 4 attackers. Automatic weapons. Professional. The security outside was either dead or incapacitated. No one was coming to help. Her phone was on the counter. 10 feet away. Might as well be a mile. The panic button by the door was even farther, and the gun pressed to her skull promised death if she tried anything. Call him. The leader shoved a phone at her. Call Choi Sung. Tell him to come. Alone. No. The word came out steadier than Lena felt. The gun pressed harder. Call him. No, you'll kill us both anyway, so no. The leader's expression flickered. Surprise, maybe respect, then hardened. Fine. We'll make you useful differently. He nodded to one of his men. The second man pulled out a syringe, clear liquid, unknown substance. And Lena's medical knowledge screamed warnings, sedative, poison, something to make her compliant or dead. She fought, kicked, bit the hand over her mouth hard enough to taste blood. Got an elbow into someone's ribs. Heard a grunt of pain. Felt savage satisfaction even as hands grabbed her, held her down, forced her arm straight. The needle pierced her skin. Liquid ice flooded her veins, and the world went dark. Consciousness returned in fragments. Cold. Pain. The smell of concrete and rust. Lena forced her eyes open, found herself in a warehouse, abandoned, judging by the broken windows and graffiti, tied to a chair, zip ties cutting into her wrists. The 4 men stood nearby, speaking in Korean, making plans. One was on the phone, voice urgent. Another was setting up a camera on a tripod, recording equipment. They were going to film something. Film her death, Lena realized. Send it to Choi Sung. Proof that his protection wasn't enough. That the Parks, because this had to be the Parks, could reach anyone he cared about. She tested the zip ties. Too tight, cutting off circulation. Her hands were going numb. But the chair was old, wooden, one leg slightly wobbly. If she could. Her phone rang. The sound pierced the warehouse. The men stopped talking, looked at the leader, who walked over to where her phone sat on a makeshift table. Picked it up, smiled. Choi Sung, perfect timing, he answered. Put it on speaker. If you've hurt her, she's alive for now, but her continued health depends on you. The leader's English was perfect now, professional. You have 2 options. Come here alone in 30 minutes, trade yourself for her, or stay away and watch her die online. Don't come, Lena heard herself shout. They'll kill us both. Don't. A fist to her face cut off the words. Pain exploded across her cheekbone. Blood filled her mouth. The world tilted. 30 minutes. The warehouse on 7th Street by the river. Come alone. He hung up, then turned to Lena, expression casual. He'll come. They always do. And then we kill you both. Slowly, on camera. Send it to every organization in the city. Show them what happens when you cross the parks. You're making a mistake. Lena spat blood onto the concrete. He won't come alone. He'll bring an army. Good. More witnesses to our power. The leader crouched in front of her. You saved his life once. Let's see if he'll die for you. 28 minutes later, the warehouse door opened. Choi Sung walked in alone. No guards, no weapons visible. Just him in his perfect suit, hands raised, expression carved from granite. I'm here. Let her go. The Parks laughed. 4 men against 1. Guns against nothing. Confidence against desperation. They thought they'd won. They were wrong. Choi Sung's hand moved, dropped something small, and suddenly the warehouse filled with smoke. Thick, choking, blinding. Gunfire erupted, muzzle flashes in smoke, but also other sounds. The whisper of suppressed weapons. Professional, controlled, and men screaming. Lena felt hands on her zip ties, felt them cut away, felt herself lifted, carried, moving through chaos toward the door. I've got you, Choi Sung's voice in her ear. I've got you. You're safe. They burst out of the warehouse into night air. Lena saw figures in tactical gear swarming the building, saw the Parks being dragged out, bleeding, broken, saw Sang-woo directing operations with cold efficiency. You said come alone, she managed to say. I lied. You think I'd risk you? Choi Sung's arms tightened around her. Never. I'd burn the entire city before letting them hurt you. An ambulance was waiting. Paramedics tried to take her, but Choi Sung wouldn't let go. Carried her to the vehicle himself, climbed in beside her, held her hand while they checked her vitals, examined the injection site, started an IV. What did they give me? Lena asked the paramedic. We're running tests. Your vitals are stable, but we need to determine... The young man stopped, looked at a tablet, went pale. Oh no. What? Choi Sung's voice was deadly. It's not a sedative. It's poison, a slow-acting toxin, designed to shut down organs over 12 to 18 hours. The paramedic's hands shook as he worked. There's an antidote, but it's experimental. The survival rate is... I don't care about rates. Where do we get it? Choi Sung's control was cracking. Lena heard it, saw it in his eyes. That's the problem. The antidote isn't a drug, it's a transfusion. Blood-to-blood transfer from someone with a specific rare blood type who's been treated with the counter agent. The paramedic was typing frantically. We need to find a match within 6 hours or... What type? Lena interrupted. Her nursing knowledge was kicking in, cutting through fear to understand the medical reality. AB negative, Rh null variant, extremely rare. Maybe 1 in a million people worldwide. He looked up from his tablet. We're searching the database, but I'm AB negative. Choi Sung's voice was quiet, certain. Sir, the Rh null variant is different. Standard AB negative won't. I'm Rh null, tested 3 years ago for a different medical issue. He looked at Lena, something raw in his expression. If I match, what happens? The paramedic's eyes widened. We'd need to treat you with the counter agent first, then perform a direct blood exchange. It's dangerous. Your blood pressure could drop. You could go into shock. There's risk of... Do it. No hesitation. Absolute certainty. Mr. Choi, you need to understand. The process could kill you. We're talking about replacing 40% of her blood volume with yours. Your body might not... I said do it. Choi Sung's eyes never left Lena's face. She saved my life 4 days ago. I'm not letting her die from poison meant for me. Test me, treat me, whatever it takes. Sung, Lena's voice cracked. You can't. What if it kills you? Then at least you'll live. He gripped her hand tighter. You jumped in front of poison for me, a stranger, someone you didn't know anything. This is me doing the same. For someone He stopped, started over. For someone who matters more than my own life. The ambulance was already moving, racing toward a private medical facility. The paramedic was on the phone, coordinating, arranging the counter agent, preparing equipment. Lena! Choi Sung cupped her face with his free hand. Look at me. Whatever happens, know that these 4 days, getting to know you, seeing who you really are, It's been worth everything. Every risk, every danger. You're worth it all. Don't talk like you're dying. I'm not dying. We're both surviving. Together. He leaned forward, pressed his forehead to hers. You and me. Against poison and probability. We're going to make it. Promise me. I promise. The medical facility was state-of-the-art, private, equipped for exactly this kind of emergency, the kind that couldn't go to a public hospital without questions. Doctors swarmed immediately, took blood samples from both of them, confirmed the match, explained the risk one more time. 40% chance of complete success, 40% chance of complications but survival, 20% chance. The doctor trailed off. Everyone knew what 20% meant. Those are better odds than I usually work with. Choi Sung was already rolling up his sleeve. Let's begin. They tried to separate them, put them in different rooms for preparation, but Choi Sung refused. She stays where I can see her. Non-negotiable. So they prepared side by side. IVs inserted, monitors attached. The counteragent pumped into Choi Sung's system first. A brutal cocktail that made him go pale, jaw clenching against obvious pain. Stop! Lena tried to sit up. You're hurting him. Stop the treatment. Don't! Choi Sung's voice was strained but firm. Don't you dare. I can handle pain. I can't handle losing you. The treatment took 30 minutes. Longest 30 minutes of Lena's life, watching him suffer, seeing sweat bead on his forehead, seeing his hands shake from whatever the counteragent was doing to his system. Finally, the doctor nodded. He's ready. We can begin the exchange. They were positioned on adjacent tables. Tubes connected their arms. Blood flowing from him to her, dark red, life itself transferring between bodies. The machines beeped steadily. Monitors tracked both their vitals. Talk to me. Choi Sung's voice was getting weaker. Tell me something. Anything. Keep my mind focused. What do you want to hear? Your dream. The one you gave up. Tell me about being a pediatric nurse. So Lena talked. Through her growing exhaustion, through the strange sensation of someone else's blood replacing her own, she talked about the hospital where she'd trained. The tiny patients with their big eyes and bigger courage, the way they'd trusted her, the satisfaction of easing pain, of making frightening things less scary. There was this girl, Maya, 6 years old, leukemia, in and out of the hospital for months. She was terrified of needles, would scream and fight every blood draw. Lena's voice got softer. I started doing this thing, singing Disney songs while I worked, distracted her, made her laugh. By the end, she'd request me specifically, said I was her favorite because I treated her like a person, not a patient. What happened to her? She went into remission. Last I heard, she was in 3rd grade and healthy. Lena smiled despite the tubes and machines. That's why I wanted to do it. Those moments, making impossible things bearable. You're doing it right now. Choi Sung's eyes were getting heavy, the blood loss affecting him. Making this bearable. Making me believe we'll survive. We will. Lena reached across the space between tables, found his hand. You promised, and you don't strike me as someone who breaks promises. Never to you. His grip was weakening but still there. Lena, I need you to know, if something happens to me, nothing is happening. We're both fine. But if it does, you need to know that these 4 days changed everything for me. You walked into my life and made me remember what it feels like to care about something beyond duty and survival and empire. You made me want to be better, to do better. Sung, I'm falling in love with you. The words were barely a whisper. Completely insane. Too fast. But true. You're everything I didn't know I needed. Everything I don't deserve. And if I survive this, I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving I'm worth the risk you took. Lena's eyes burned with tears. You can't say that now. Not when else? Life doesn't wait for perfect timing. You taught me that. You jumped in front of poison without hesitation, so I'm jumping now. Telling you that you matter. That this matters. His eyes closed. That whatever happens next, at least I said it out loud. Mr. Choi's blood pressure is dropping. The doctor's voice was urgent. We need to slow the transfusion. No. Choi Sung's eyes snapped open. Keep going. She needs it all. Sir, you could die. Then I die saving the person who saved me. There are worse ways to go. His grip on Lena's hand tightened fractionally. Don't stop. Whatever happens to me, don't stop. The machines beeped faster. Warnings, dangers. Choi Sung's monitor was showing cardiac stress. His breathing had gone shallow, but the blood kept flowing, his life literally pouring into her veins. Stay with me. Lena was crying now. God damn it, Sung, you promised. Don't you dare die on me. Not after I saved you. Not after you saved me. Stay with me. His eyes found hers through the haze of pain and blood loss. Always, and then his monitor flatlined. The world stopped. Lena screamed. Doctors rushed. Sang-woo appeared in the doorway, face stricken. The transfusion continued even as they started chest compressions, even as the defibrillator charged, even as someone yelled about cardiac arrest. Lena! A doctor's voice, gentle but firm. We have to continue the transfusion or you'll die. But continuing could... Do it! Lena's voice was steel. He wanted me to live. So finish it! The blood kept flowing, even as Choi Sung lay clinically dead, even as they shocked his heart, even as Lena watched the man who just confessed his love for her fight for his life while giving his life to save hers. Then a miracle. The flat line stuttered. A single blip, then another, then a steady rhythm. His heart restarted, weak, thready, but beating. He's back. The doctor breathed. Choi Sung's eyes fluttered open, found Lena, managed a weak smile. Told you, we'd survive. And then Lena passed out. Lena woke to darkness. Hospital room, quiet except for the steady beep of monitors. She felt strange, hollowed out but alive. Her blood was different now. Literally, part of her was him, his DNA flowing through her veins, the most intimate connection she could imagine. The door opened. Sang-woo appeared, looking exhausted but relieved. You're awake. Good. Boss has been asking about you every 10 minutes, driving the medical staff insane. He's awake? Lena tried to sit up, managed it with Sang-woo's help. How is he? Weak, angry about it, refusing to rest properly because he's worried about you. Sang-woo's expression softened fractionally. You saved each other. That's rare. Special. The Parks? Handled. Permanently. They won't be a problem again. The way he said it made clear exactly how permanent the solution had been. You're safe now. Both of you. Can I see him? Doctor says not yet, but Sang-woo pulled out a wheelchair. Boss is in the next room, and I'm known for bending rules. He wheeled her carefully down the hall, stopped at a door, knocked once and pushed it open without waiting for response. Choi Sung was sitting up in bed, looking pale but alive. Monitors beeped steadily. IV lines ran from his arms, but his eyes were clear, alert. And the moment he saw Lena, his entire expression transformed. You're okay. Not a question, a relief so profound it was almost pain. So are you, Lena's voice broke. You died. Your heart stopped. I watched you die. I came back. For you. Because I made a promise. He held out his hand. Come here. Please. Sang-woo wheeled her to the bedside, close enough that she could take Choi Sung's hand. Feel his pulse under her fingers. Proof of life, of survival, of two people who'd saved each other in the most literal way possible. I meant what I said. His thumb traced circles on her wrist. Before I coded, about falling in love with you. I know it's too soon. I know you probably think it's just trauma bonding or gratitude or... I love you too. The words came out simple, true, undeniable. I don't know how or why or if it makes any sense, but I do. I'm in love with you. Something shifted in his expression, cracked open, the careful control falling away to reveal raw emotion underneath. Lena, your blood is inside me right now, keeping me alive. That's not a metaphor. That's reality. We're connected in ways I can't even begin to process. She leaned forward carefully, mindful of the IVs. So yeah, I love you, and I'm terrified of it, but it's true. He pulled her closer, gentle despite the tubes and wires, kissed her with a tenderness that made her chest ache, like she was precious, irreplaceable, the most important thing in his world. I'm going to marry you someday. He said it against her lips, certainty and promise and absolute conviction. Going to build a life with you that's nothing like what I had planned. Going to love you properly, completely, for the rest of my life. That's very presumptuous. Is it? You have my blood in your veins. I have yours in mine. We're bonded in ways that go beyond choice now. So yes, I'm presuming. Sue me. Lena laughed despite the tears. You're insane. You love an insane man. What does that make you? Equally insane, and somehow okay with it. They stayed like that, connected by tubes and wires, and a bond that went deeper than either could have imagined. Recovery was slow, tedious, both of them forced into bed rest while their bodies adjusted to the trauma they'd endured. But they recovered together. Sang-woo set up Lena's room next to Choi Sung's. Bent more rules. Let them spend days talking, learning each other in ways that went beyond crisis and adrenaline. Tell me about your father, Lena asked one afternoon, sun streaming through windows. You mentioned he built an empire. Choi Sung was quiet for a long moment. Then, he was hard, demanding, loved me in his way but showed it through expectations rather than affection. He came to America with nothing, built the organization from scratch, wanted me to inherit it, expand it, secure our family's future. Do you want that? The empire? I don't know anymore. His honesty was painful. I spent my whole life preparing to lead, trained for it, shaped myself into what he needed, and then you knocked over a glass of wine and everything I thought I knew became questionable. I ruined your life plan. You gave me a better one. He looked at her. My father built with violence, with fear, with blood. But you saved a stranger without thought of reward. That kind of instinct, that kind of goodness, it doesn't fit in the world I inherited. So either I change the world or I leave it. What would leaving look like? I don't know. Legitimate business. Using the resources and connections for something clean. Maybe funding medical research or education programs. Things that help instead of hurt. His hand found hers. Things you'd be proud of. I'm already proud of you. You gave me your blood. Literally died to save me. What you did before doesn't define what you do next. You make it sound simple. It's not, but neither was watching poison go into your glass and deciding to act. Neither was agreeing to the transfusion. Neither was any of this. Lena laced her fingers through his. We do hard things. Together. That's who we are now. 2 weeks post-transfusion, they were cleared to leave the medical facility. Choi Sung insisted on taking Lena somewhere. A surprise, he said. Sang-woo drove them to a building in Koreatown. Modern, professional. A large banner out front. Jiwon Memorial Medical Center. Opening soon. What is this? Lena asked as they walked through glass doors into a lobby under construction. A pediatric clinic. Free care for underserved communities. Staffed by the best doctors I could recruit. Named after my sister. He guided her deeper into the building. And I want you to run it. Lena stopped walking. What? You gave up nursing school to care for your mother. I'm giving you a chance to finish, complete your degree, get certified, and then run this place. Make it everything you dreamed of when you wanted to be a pediatric nurse. Sung, I can't. That's too much. I'm not qualified. You saved my life by being observant and brave. You understand medicine. You care about people. And most importantly, you see patients as human beings, not symptoms. That's exactly what this place needs. His eyes were intense. Let me give you this. Let me fund your dreams the way you saved my life. Tears blurred Lena's vision. This is real? You're serious? Completely. I've already arranged your readmission to nursing school. Tuition paid. Living expenses covered. You start next semester. He pulled her close. You gave me my life back. Let me give you yours. She kissed him, poured everything she felt into it, gratitude and love and disbelief and hope. When they finally broke apart, she was crying. Thank you. God, thank you. Don't thank me. You earned this. You saved a life without expecting anything in return. This is karma, justice, the universe finally getting something right. They walked through the clinic together, empty rooms waiting to be filled with equipment, spaces that would soon hold children and families in hope. Lena could see it all, could imagine herself here, white coat and stethoscope, finally becoming what she'd always meant to be. Her mother was in a new facility, private room, beautiful views, staff who spoke to her with respect. Lena visited that evening, Choi Sung accompanying her for the first time. Diana Baptiste was having a good day, lucid, present. She recognized Lena immediately, smiled that familiar smile. "Baby girl, you look happy. Haven't seen that in years." "I am happy, Mama. I want you to meet someone." Lena gestured to Choi Sung. "This is Sung. He's, important to me." Diana studied him with sharp eyes, the same eyes Lena had inherited. "You treating my daughter right?" "I'm trying to. She saved my life. Now I'm spending mine making sure she never regrets it." Simple, honest, no embellishment. Diana nodded slowly. "Good. She deserves someone who sees her, really sees her, not what she can do for them, but who she is." She reached for Lena's hand. "You love him?" "Yes, Mama, I do." "Then don't let go. Love like that, the kind that saves and is saved, that's rare. You hold on to it with both hands." They stayed for 2 hours. Lena telling her mother about nursing school, the clinic, the future that had opened up. Diana drifted in and out of lucidity, but when she was present, she was happy, genuinely happy for the first time in years. In the parking lot afterward, Choi Sung pulled Lena against him. "Your mother is wonderful. I see where you get your strength. She raised me alone, worked herself to exhaustion to give me opportunities. I owe her everything." "So do I. She created you, which means she gave me the person who saved my life and then somehow agreed to love me despite knowing exactly what I am." "What are you?" Lena looked up at him. "Because I don't think you're just a criminal anymore. I think you're becoming something else. I'm yours, whatever that means. Wherever it leads, I'm yours." Nursing school was brutal. Lena had forgotten how demanding it was. Anatomy, pharmacology, clinical rotations. Long hours and endless studying and the constant fear of failing. But she had something she hadn't had before. Support. Choi Sung helped her study, quizzed her on medication names, timed her IV placement practice, brought dinner when she forgot to eat. And somehow, between running his empire and dealing with rival organizations and conducting business that Lena still didn't fully understand, he made time to be present for her. "You don't have to do this," she told him one night, exhausted from a 12-hour clinical shift. "I know you're busy, important. You don't need to quiz me on respiratory assessment. I want to. Watching you pursue your dream, it's the best part of my day. Makes everything else worthwhile." He kissed her forehead. "Now tell me the difference between crackles and wheezes." 6 months into school, Lena was on her pediatric rotation. First day, nervous energy making her hands shake as she walked into the children's hospital unit. Her instructor, a stern Korean woman named Miss Park, assigned her to a patient. "Room 304, 7-year-old boy, post-appendectomy. He's refusing to get out of bed for ambulation. See if you can motivate him." Lena knocked on the door, found a small Korean boy in the bed, arms crossed, expression mutinous. "No walking. It hurts." "I'm Lena. I'm your nurse today." She sat in the chair beside his bed. Didn't push, just sat. "What's your name?" "Minho. And I don't care if you're nice. I'm not walking. My stomach hurts and walking makes it worse." "That makes sense. Surgery hurts. But you know what hurts more? Staying in bed too long. Your muscles get weak. Your lungs don't expand properly. You could get pneumonia." "I don't care." "Okay, then I'll make you a deal. You walk with me to the end of the hall and back. If you do it without complaining, I'll bring you something cool tomorrow. Your choice." Minho's eyes narrowed. "Anything?" "Within reason. No puppies, but most other things." "Iron Man action figure. The new one." "Deal. But you have to walk. No cheating." It took 20 minutes. Minho moved slow, wincing with each step. But he did it. Walked the entire hall. And Lena stayed beside him, offering encouragement, making jokes, treating him like a brave warrior instead of a difficult patient. The next day, she brought the action figure. His face lit up. "You actually got it? I keep my promises. Now you keep yours. Walk twice today." Word spread through the unit. The new nursing student who actually listened to kids, who treated them like people, who made deals and kept them. Within a week, Lena had half the floor asking for her specifically. Ms. Park pulled her aside. "You're a natural, best pediatric instinct I've seen in years. Where did you learn it?" From being a patient once, and from remembering how it feels to be scared and small, and at the mercy of adults who don't explain things. You'll make an excellent nurse, Lena. Never lose that empathy. Meanwhile, Choi Sung was making changes to his organization. Slowly, carefully, transitioning operations from criminal to legitimate. It wasn't easy. Some members resisted, some left. Some had to be encouraged to accept the new direction in ways Lena didn't ask about. But he persisted, built legitimate businesses, construction, import-export, real estate, used his connections and capital to create empire that didn't require violence. And he funded projects like the clinic, like community programs, like scholarships for kids who'd otherwise have no chance. "You're becoming a different person," Lena told him one evening. They were in his penthouse. Her penthouse now, too, she supposed. She'd moved in without formal discussion. It had just happened naturally. "The man I met would never have funded an after-school program. The man you met was hollow, going through motions, following a script written by my father." He pulled her onto the couch beside him. "You filled the hollow parts, gave me something worth building toward. I didn't do anything except knock over wine. You did everything. You saw poison where others saw normal. You stayed calm under pressure. You risked your life for a stranger. And then you loved me despite knowing exactly what I was." His arms tightened around her. "You made me want to be someone worthy of that love. You already were. You just didn't know it yet." 1 year after the poisoning, Lena graduated from nursing school. Top of her class, pediatric specialty certification, job offers from multiple hospitals, but only one job she wanted. The G1 Memorial Medical Center opened 2 weeks later. Ribbon-cutting ceremony, local politicians, press coverage, and Lena in her new white coat with Director of Pediatric Services embroidered on the breast. "Nervous?" Choi Sung asked as they prepared to cut the ribbon. "Terrified. This is huge. What if I fail?" "You won't. You're going to change lives here. Give kids the care they deserve. Honor G1's memory better than anything else could." The ceremony was perfect. Speeches about community and hope, and second chances. Lena spoke about the power of seeing patients as whole people, about how healthcare should be a right, not a privilege, about dreams deferred but not denied. And when she cut that ribbon, when the doors officially opened and the first families walked in with their children, Lena felt something slot into place. Purpose, calling, the things she'd been meant to do all along. The clinic thrived. Within 6 months, they were serving hundreds of families, kids who'd never had consistent health care, immigrant families afraid to seek treatment, underserved communities that had been ignored by the system. Lena worked brutally long hours, but she loved it. Loved the tiny patients who slowly learned to trust her. Loved the parents who cried with relief when their children were finally getting proper care. Loved building something that mattered. And Choi Sung was there, not just funding it, but involved. He'd visit between business meetings, sit in the waiting room and play with nervous kids, learn their names, make them laugh. The dangerous man with his perfect suits and his violent past, completely transformed by children who didn't know to be afraid. "You're good with them," Lena observed one day, watching him teach a 5-year-old how to make a paper crane. "They remind me of G1, her curiosity, her trust, the way she saw good in everyone." He finished the crane, handed it to the delighted child. "Being here, with them, with you, it's the closest I've felt to her since she died. She'd be proud of you, of this." "I hope so. Some days I wonder if I'm doing enough, if one clinic can balance out years of violence." "It's not about balance, it's about choice, who you choose to be going forward." Lena took his hand. "And you're choosing to be someone who saves instead of destroys. That matters." 18 months after the poisoning, on a quiet Saturday evening, Choi Sung took Lena to the warehouse where the Parks had held her. It had been completely renovated, no longer a site of trauma, but something new. "Why are we here?" Lena felt her chest tighten at the memories. "Because I wanted to transform where we almost died into something beautiful." He opened the door, lead her inside. The warehouse was now a community center. Basketball courts, computer lab, art studio, space for kids to be kids, for families to gather, for community to build. "Sung, you saved my life in a restaurant. I saved yours here. Both places were about violence and death. Now they're about life and hope. Seems fitting. He led her to the center of the basketball court, and there in the middle of renovated space where she'd once been tied to a chair, he dropped to one knee. Lena Baptiste, you knocked over a glass of poison wine and changed my entire world. You gave me a reason to be better, to do better, to build something worth leaving behind. He pulled out a ring, simple, elegant, a blood-red ruby surrounded by diamonds. Marry me, not because of debts or obligations or gratitude, but because I love you completely and want to spend the rest of my life proving it. Lena was crying. That's the second most dramatic proposal location possible. First was the blood transfusion. I'm a dramatic person. You knew that when you fell for me. Fair point. She knelt down to his level, took his face in her hands. Yes, obviously yes, I love you. I want to marry you. I want to build this life we've started. So yes. The kiss was witnessed by empty basketball courts and echoing space, but it felt perfect. Two people who'd nearly died together, choosing to live together instead, choosing love over fear, hope over trauma, future over past. The engagement party was held at the clinic, intimate, just close friends and family. Shanice screamed when she saw the ring, then immediately started planning the wedding. Diana had a lucid day, smiled at them with tears in her eyes, told them she was proud. Sang-woo raised a toast to the woman who saved our boss by being fearless and observant, and to the boss who saved her by being equally stubborn. May they continue saving each other for the rest of their lives. The wedding planning was chaotic. Lena wanted small and intimate. Choi Sung wanted to give her everything she'd never had. They compromised. Medium-sized, blending Korean and American traditions, held at the clinic they'd built together. My mother would have loved you, Choi Sung said one night while reviewing seating charts. She always said I needed someone strong, someone who wouldn't let me become hard like my father. Did you become hard like him? I was, before you, all edges and violence and control. You softened the sharp parts, reminded me there's more to life than power and survival. You softened me too. I was so scared after everything with my mom, scared to want anything, scared to hope. You made me brave again. 3 months before the wedding, problems emerged. A rival organization, new players trying to establish territory, began targeting Choi Sung's legitimate businesses. Vandalism, threats, attempts to extort protection money. Let me handle it, Sang-woo urged. The old way, quick and permanent. But Choi Sung refused. No, we're not going backward. We find another solution. What other solution? They're threatening violence. You think talking will stop them? I think proving we're not worth fighting might. Show them we're legitimate now, that attacking us brings scrutiny they don't want. The strategy worked, partially. The attacks decreased, but they didn't stop. And Lena started noticing security around her getting tighter. More guards, different routes to work, protocols that screamed danger. Tell me the truth. She confronted Choi Sung one evening. How bad is it? He didn't insult her intelligence by lying. They're escalating, moving from property damage to potential personal threats. I've increased your protection, but they might try what the Parks did. Use me to get to you. Yes. Lena thought for a long moment. Then we accelerate. Accelerate what? The wedding. Don't give them time to plan. We get married now. This week. Small ceremony. Just us and the people who matter. Then we disappear for a honeymoon until you've handled this situation. Lena, you deserve the wedding you've been planning. I deserve to marry you without worrying about bullets at the reception. We can have a big party later when things are safe. But for now, let's just be married. Something shifted in his expression. Relief mixed with love. You're sure? Completely. Let's do it. This week. Just us. They married 3 days later. City Hall ceremony. Lena in a simple white dress she'd bought that morning. Choi Sung in his best suit. Witnesses, Sang-woo, Shanice, and Diana, brought from the facility for her daughter's wedding, having a blessedly lucid day. The vows were traditional, simple, but when Choi Sung slipped the ring on Lena's finger and said, I do, his voice broke slightly. Emotion cracking through control, proof that this dangerous man loved her beyond reason. You may kiss the bride. And he did. Kissed her like she was oxygen, like she was everything. Like their story, which started with poisoned wine and ended with wedding vows, was the only thing in the world that mattered. Mrs. Choi Sung. He said it against her lips, testing the name. Though you can keep Baptiste if you want, or hyphenate, or Lena Choi sounds perfect. Like starting over. New name for a new life. The honeymoon was 2 weeks in Jeju Island. Remote resort, private beach, security presence that was professional but unobtrusive. 2 weeks to just be together. No clinic, no businesses, no threats. Just them. They spent days exploring the island. Nights tangled together in luxury sheets. Mornings drinking coffee on their private balcony while watching the ocean. And slowly, Lena felt the last of her walls come down. I need to tell you something, she said one evening. They were in the infinity pool, watching sunset paint the sky impossible colors. What? I was terrified to love you. After everything with school, with my mom, with just surviving, I'd convinced myself I didn't have room for this, for someone who needed so much of me. And now? Now I realize you don't take from me. You add to me, make me more than I was, and I want... She paused, gathered courage. I want to start a family with you, not right now, but eventually. Kids who inherit your stubbornness and hopefully my common sense. Choi Sung went very still. You want children with me? Is that surprising? I'm a former crime boss with enough blood on my hands to paint the ocean red. I didn't think anyone would want that. Want me as a father. You're not that person anymore. You're someone who funds clinics and community centers and scholarships, who plays with sick kids and makes them laugh, who saved my life at risk of your own. Lena cupped his face. You'll be an amazing father, protective and present and so full of love, you won't know what to do with it all. I don't deserve you. Good thing I'm not with you for what you deserve. I'm with you because I love you. They returned from honeymoon to news. The rival organization had been absorbed into a larger group, one that Choi Sung had history with. Positive history. Within a week, the threats disappeared. Territory disputes resolved. Peace established. It's over, Lena asked, almost afraid to believe it. It's over. We're safe. You're safe. He pulled her close. We can have that big wedding party now if you want. Celebrate properly. Or we could just live. Be married. Build our life without drama. Where's the fun in that? But he was smiling. Though yes, living sounds perfect. Boring and safe and beautifully ordinary. 2 years after the poisoning, the clinic had served over 5,000 children. Lena had a staff of 12 nurses, 3 doctors, and countless volunteers. They'd expanded services, added dental care, mental health counseling, nutrition programs, and Lena was pregnant. 8 weeks, too early to tell anyone, but she'd taken 4 tests, all positive, all screaming the reality she could barely process. She was growing a human, her and Choi Sung's human, a baby who would inherit their combined DNA, their love, their complicated story. She told him that evening, nervous, excited, terrified. He came home from work. He ran legitimate businesses now, wore his suits to meetings with investors instead of rival organizations, and found her in the kitchen, pregnancy tests lined up on the counter. He stared at them, then at her, then back at the tests. Are you? I'm pregnant. We're having a baby. In about 7 months. Surprise? Choi Sung made a sound Lena had never heard from him, something between a laugh and a sob. Crossed the kitchen in 2 strides and lifted her into his arms, spun her carefully, set her down and kissed her with desperate tenderness. We're having a baby. He said it like a prayer. A child. Our child. You're happy, Lena had worried. It was too soon. They'd only been married 2 years. The clinic was still growing. Maybe he wasn't ready. Happy doesn't cover it. Terrified, overwhelmed. But yes, God, yes. I'm happy. His hand moved to her still flat stomach. There's a person in there, made from us, from everything we've survived and built and become. Are you going to cry? Probably, later, when it fully hits me. He pulled her close again. Thank you, for this, for everything, for saving my life so we could create one together. The pregnancy was smooth, no complications, just normal first trimester exhaustion and nausea. Lena worked at the clinic until her energy allowed. Choi Sung hovered like a worried mother hen. You need to rest more. You're working too hard. I'm pregnant, not broken. Women have been having babies while working since the dawn of time. Yes, but none of those women were carrying my child, which makes this situation exceptional and requiring special accommodations. You're ridiculous. I'm worried. There's a difference, aren't they? Argued about it constantly. Lena refusing to be treated like glass. Choi Sung unable to stop trying to protect her from everything, including herself. It was annoying and endearing, and somehow perfect. At 20 weeks, they learned they were having a daughter. Choi Sung wept during the ultrasound. Actually wept. Tears streaming down his face as he watched their daughter move on the screen. She's perfect. His voice was thick. Absolutely perfect. We don't even know what she looks like yet. Doesn't matter, she's ours. That makes her perfect. They debated names for weeks. Korean options, American options, combinations. Finally settled on one that honored both their histories. Ji-Hai Diana Choi. Ji-Hai for his sister. Diana for her mother. A bridge between worlds. Diana's health was declining. The Alzheimer's progressing despite the best care money could buy. She had fewer lucid moments. Sometimes didn't recognize Lena. Sometimes thought Lena was herself at 26. But Lena visited 3 times a week anyway. Talked to her mother about the pregnancy, about Choi Sung, about the life they were building. On good days, Diana understood, smiled, touched Lena's growing belly with wonder. You're giving me a grandbaby. One of those good days. Diana's eyes clear and present. I'm so happy, so proud of you, baby girl. I wish you could meet her. Wish you could be here when she's born. I'll be here. Maybe not in body, but in her. She'll have my stubbornness. Your father's laugh. All the best parts of our family living on. I'm scared, Mama. Scared I won't be a good mother. That I don't know how to do this. You'll be wonderful. You've been taking care of people your whole life. This is just more of the same. But Lena, Diana's hand tightened on hers. Don't lose yourself in motherhood. Keep being a nurse. Keep helping people. Show your daughter that women can be everything. I will, I promise. Diana died 3 weeks later, peaceful, in her sleep. Lena was 32 weeks pregnant, hormonal and devastated when she got the call. Choi Sung held her while she sobbed, arranged everything for the funeral, made sure she didn't have to handle logistics while drowning in grief. And when they buried Diana beside the grandmother Lena had never met, he stood beside her in the rain and held her hand through the entire service. She was proud of you, he said afterward. She told me, last time I visited, said you'd exceeded every dream she had for you. I wish she could have met Ji-Hai. She will, just not the way we'd planned. But our daughter will know her grandmother, through stories, through photos, through the parts of Diana that live in you. Ji-Hai Diana Choi was born 6 weeks later. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, perfect fingers and toes, her father's eyes, her mother's nose. A squalling, beautiful miracle that made Lena understand for the first time why people said love could hurt. Choi Sung held his daughter with trembling hands, stared at her like she was the most precious thing in existence. She's so small. How is she so small? That's how babies work. Lena was exhausted. 20 hours of labor, but watching her husband with their daughter made every second worth it. I'm terrified I'll break her. You won't. You're going to be an amazing father. And he was. Sleepless nights didn't faze him. Dirty diapers didn't scare him. He changed and fed and burped and swaddled with the same efficiency he'd once applied to running an empire. Where did you learn all this? Lena asked one night, watching him soothe a crying Ji-Hai with practiced ease. YouTube and books. I've been studying for months. Did you think I'd be unprepared? You research fatherhood like a military operation. This is more important than any operation. This is our daughter. I refuse to fail her. The first year of Ji-Hai's life was chaos. Beautiful, exhausting chaos. Lena went back to work part-time at the clinic. Choi Sung adjusted his schedule to be home more. They traded off sleepless nights, celebrated first smiles and first rolls and first attempts at crawling. Shanice was the designated godmother, visited weekly with extravagant gifts and enthusiastic babysitting. Girl, your daughter's going to be so spoiled. She's already spoiled. Her father bought her a custom crib that cost more than a car. Listen, when you marry a reformed crime boss, you get crime boss money. Enjoy it. Former crime boss, emphasis on former. Semantics. Point is, you saved his life and now you get to live like royalty while doing good works. That's called winning. On Jihai's first birthday, they threw a party at the clinic. Combined birthday celebration and fundraiser. The entire community came. Families they'd helped, staff members, friends, even some of Choi Sung's former associates, now running legitimate businesses of their own. Lena watched her daughter smash a custom cake while surrounded by people who loved her. Watched Choi Sung laughing, completely transformed from the cold man she'd first met. Thought about everything that had led to this moment. Poisoned wine, blood transfusion, near death, recovery, love, marriage, motherhood, a path she never could have predicted, never would have chosen if given the option at the start. What are you thinking about? Choi Sung appeared beside her, Jihai in his arms, cake frosting in her hair. That afternoon 3 years ago, when I knocked over your wine glass and changed everything. Best day of my life. You almost died. But I didn't, because you saved me, and then I saved you. And then we saved each other in 1,000 small ways until we built this. He gestured to the party, the clinic, their daughter, their life. Worth every risk, every danger, every impossible moment. Yeah, Lena leaned into him. It really was. 5 years after the poisoning, Lena stood in the clinic's new pediatric wing, funded by an anonymous donation that everyone knew came from her husband, and watched young nurses she'd trained working with tiny patients. The clinic had expanded, multiple locations now, serving thousands of children annually, providing not just healthcare, but hope, proving that medicine could be about people, not profit. And Lena was pregnant again. 16 weeks. Another girl. They'd already picked the name, Sophia Marie, after no one in particular, just a name they both loved. Mama! Jihai ran up, all 3-year-old energy and excitement. Papa says we can get ice cream if you say yes. Papa is trying to use you to manipulate me. Is it working? Choi Sung appeared, Sophia in a baby carrier against his chest. At 7 months, their second daughter was already showing signs of her father's stubbornness. Unfortunately, yes. Ice cream sounds perfect. They walked out together, a family, something Lena had never thought she'd have, had given up on during those years of just surviving. But life had surprised her, given her poison that turned to medicine, death that became life, a love story that started with a glass of wine and became everything. That evening, after ice cream and bath time and bedtime stories, Lena stood in Jihai's room watching her daughter sleep. Choi Sung appeared behind her, wrapped his arms around her growing belly. Thank you, he said it quietly, for saving my life, for loving me, for giving me this family, for making me someone worth being. You were always worth being. You just needed someone to see it. You saw everything, the danger, the blood, the darkness, and you loved me anyway. Because I saw the light too, the man who would give his blood to save a stranger, who funded clinics without expecting recognition, who became a father like it was the most important job in existence. That man was always there, just waiting to be found. They stood together in their daughter's room, watching her breathe, listening to the soft sounds of sleep. Two people who'd saved each other in the most literal way possible, who'd built something beautiful from violence and poison and near death. I love you, Lena Choi. Choi Sung's voice was soft. More than I knew it was possible to love another person. I love you too. My dangerous, wonderful, reformed criminal husband who somehow became my everything. Reformed criminal. I like that title. Better than current criminal. Fair point. And in that quiet moment, in their daughter's room with another daughter growing between them, Lena understood something crucial. Saving Choi Sung's life hadn't been a singular act. It had been the beginning of a story that kept unfolding, kept saving both of them in ways large and small. Through blood and love and commitment and choice, they saved each other every day, in the ordinary moments, the late-night feedings and early morning clinic rounds and business meetings and bedtime stories, in the way they chose each other repeatedly, consciously, forever. That was the real miracle, not the blood transfusion or the survival against odds, but the daily decision to keep saving, keep loving, keep building something worth the risks they'd taken. 10 years after the poisoning, Lena stood at a podium addressing a medical conference. Her clinic model had been adopted by 3 other cities, pediatric care for underserved communities, funded by a foundation Choi Sung had created. Proof that one person's choice to act could ripple outward indefinitely. 10 years ago, I was a waitress who dropped out of nursing school. No prospects, no hope beyond surviving day to day. Her voice carried through the auditorium. And then I made a choice. A split-second decision to knock over a glass of wine because something felt wrong. That choice changed everything. She talked about the poisoning, the transfusion, the recovery and love and life that followed. About how sometimes saving one life means saving your own. How risk and reward are so closely intertwined, you can't separate them. I don't regret a single moment. Not the danger, not the fear, not the blood. Because all of it led here. To a life I never could have imagined. To work that matters. To a family I love. To a purpose bigger than myself. The applause was thunderous, but Lena barely heard it. She was looking at the front row, at Choi Sung holding their youngest, 2-year-old Marcus Sang-woo, named after the godfather who'd become family, at Ji Hai, now 8, sketching in a notebook, at Sophia, 6, waving enthusiastically, her family, the impossible gift that came from choosing to act, from seeing poison and refusing to look away, from risking everything for a stranger who became everything. After the conference, they walked through the city, stopped at the restaurant where it had all started. Vermilion was still there, still serving overpriced Italian to wealthy clientele. Should we go in? Choi Sung asked. For old time's sake. Why not? Though if you order wine, I'm knocking it over. Fair warning. They were seated at table 7, the same table. Like the universe had a sense of humor. The waiter, young, new, no memory of what happened there 10 years ago, brought menus and asked about drinks. Water for all of us, Choi Sung said, then smiled at Lena. Unless you want wine? Hard pass. I've had enough wine-related drama for one lifetime. Ji-hye looked around curiously. This is where you met? Not exactly met. More like where your mother saved my life and accidentally trapped herself into marrying me. Papa, Sophia was scandalized. You didn't trap her. She loves you. She does. I'm very lucky. We're both lucky. Lena reached across the table, took his hand. I saved you. You saved me. And now we're here. With our beautiful, dramatic children and our complicated history and our future still stretching ahead. What do you see in that future? Choi Sung asked. More kids? More clinics? World domination through pediatric healthcare? All of the above. Plus maybe finally teaching you how to cook something besides ramyun. I cook other things. Burnt toast doesn't count. The kids giggled. This argument was familiar, comfortable, part of their family rhythm. They ordered dinner, ate slowly, talked about everything and nothing. And when they left the restaurant, walking out into a LA evening that was somehow perfect, Lena paused at the spot where she'd knocked over Choi Sung's wine glass. What are you thinking? He asked. That I'd do it again, knowing everything that came after, the poison, the transfusion, the danger, all of it, I'd still knock over that glass. I'd still save you. Even knowing how stubborn I am, how overprotective, how bad at cooking. Especially knowing all that, because you're you, and our life together, this beautiful, chaotic, impossible life, is worth every risk I took. Choi Sung kissed her there on the sidewalk outside Vermilion, with their children making disgusted noises and pedestrians walking around them, and the city moving on, oblivious. I love you, Lena Choi. Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for letting me save yours. Thank you for every day since. I love you too, always. 20 years after the poisoning, Lena was 66 and semi-retired. The clinic network had expanded to 12 cities. Thousands of children served annually. A model for how healthcare could work when driven by mission instead of profit. She still went in once a week. Couldn't quite let go completely. Would spend Tuesdays in the original clinic, the G1 Memorial Center, seeing patients and mentoring young nurses. Choi Sung was 68, fully retired from business, spending his time with grandchildren and philanthropic work. Their kids had grown up. Ji Hai was 30, a pediatric surgeon following in her mother's footsteps, married with 2 kids of her own. Sophia was 28, running the clinic foundation, expanding the network with her father's business savvy and her mother's compassion. Marcus was 24 in medical school, determined to become a trauma surgeon after being inspired by his parents' story. "We did good," Lena said one evening. They sat on their balcony watching sunset over LA, same city where everything had started, where a black waitress had saved a Korean mafia boss and accidentally created a love story. "We did better than good. We created something that lasts, not just our kids, but the clinics, the families we've helped, the lives we've changed. Do you ever miss it? The danger, the power, the empire? Never, not for a second. That life was hollow, empty. This," he gestured at their home, at the photos of grandchildren on the walls, at the life they'd built. "This is real. This matters. Even though it started with poison, especially because it started with poison, we took something meant to kill and turned it into life. That's not just survival, that's transformation." They sat in comfortable silence. Decades of marriage had taught them that love didn't always need words. Sometimes it was just presence, shared space, breathing the same air. "Lena," Choi Sung's voice was soft. "Do you remember what you said to me after the transfusion, when I confessed I was falling in love with you? I said I loved you too, that I was terrified, but it was true. You said we were connected in ways you couldn't process, that my blood was inside you, keeping you alive." He took her hand. "It still is, not just literally, though technically some of my cells are probably still circulating, but metaphorically, we're part of each other now, inseparable. Is this going somewhere romantic, or are you just being philosophical in your old age?" "Both. I'm saying that 20 years later, I'm still in love with you. Still amazed you chose me. Still grateful for every day we've had. Me too, though I maintain you're still a terrible cook. Some things never change. Thank God for that." They died within months of each other. Lena first, peacefully in her sleep at 82. Heart failure, quick and painless, surrounded by family. Choi Sung followed 3 months later. The doctors said it was a stroke, but their kids knew better. He died of a broken heart, of missing her too much to want to continue. At his funeral, Sophia gave the eulogy. "My father was many things. Businessman, philanthropist, former criminal, though we don't talk about that much." Gentle laughter. "But most importantly, he was a man transformed by love. He met my mother when they were both at their lowest. She saved his life, literally, physically saved him from poison. And in return, he saved hers. Gave her his blood when she needed it. Built her a clinic so she could pursue her dreams. Loved her with a devotion that defied logic. They weren't perfect. They fought about his cooking and her working too hard and how to discipline us kids. But they loved each other completely, and that love rippled outward. To us, to the thousands of children helped by their clinics, to communities transformed by their work. Dad used to say that Mom knocked over a glass of wine and saved his life. But really, they saved each other, every day, in small ways and large, through blood and commitment and choice, and now they're together again, finally, forever." The Lena and Choi Sung Memorial Foundation continued their work. The clinic network expanded to 20 cities, tens of thousands of children receiving care annually, free, comprehensive, compassionate. On the wall of every clinic was the same plaque, "In memory of Lena Baptiste Choi and Choi Sung, who taught us that saving one life can change the world, that love is worth every risk, that transformation is always possible." Below it, a photo, taken on their 50th wedding anniversary, 2 elderly people, her black, him Korean, both smiling, hands clasped, love visible in every line of their faces, and in the corner of each plaque, barely visible unless you knew to look, were the words Choi Sung had whispered to Lena during the blood transfusion. "Blood to blood, life to life, forever." 30 years after their deaths, a young nursing student named Amara visited the original Jiwon Memorial Clinic. She was writing her thesis on transformative healthcare models, interviewing staff, researching history. An elderly nurse, Marcus, now 80 and still working 1 day a week, told her the story. "My mother was a waitress, saw poison in a glass of wine, saved a man without knowing who he was. That man fell in love with her, nearly died giving her his blood when she was poisoned. They married, built this clinic, changed thousands of lives. That's incredible. Amara was taking notes. It sounds like a movie. It was real, more real than any fiction. And the lesson, the thing they taught me, is that one moment of courage can change everything. One choice to act instead of look away. That's how you save the world, one person at a time. Amara left the clinic inspired, completed her degree, became a pediatric nurse at that same clinic. And when asked why, she told Lena and Choi Sung's story, passed it on to new generations. The story of a black waitress who risked her life to save a Korean mafia boss, of poison that became medicine, of death that transformed into life, of a love story that started with a glass of wine and became eternal. Somewhere in whatever comes after life, Lena and Choi Sung are together, and she's still teasing him about his cooking. And he's still looking at her like she hung the stars. And their love, born from poison and blood and impossible choices, continues forever. Because some stories don't end. They just transform, ripple outward, touch lives across generations, prove that love, real love, the kind built on sacrifice and courage and blood-to-blood connection, that love never dies. It just becomes legend, becomes inspiration, becomes the story people tell when they need to remember that transformation is possible. That one moment of courage can change everything. That sometimes the worst thing that ever happens becomes the doorway to the best. Lena Baptiste knocked over a glass of poisoned wine. Choi Sung gave her his blood to save her life. And from that exchange, blood to blood, life to life, came everything that mattered. Came love, came transformation, came proof that sometimes the most shocking thing isn't the risk you take. It's the life you build from taking it. Epilogue, The Glass of Wine. A museum exhibition, 50 years after their deaths. Love stories that changed healthcare. The centerpiece, A Glass of Wine. Replica, of course. The original had shattered on marble 75 years ago. The placard reads, "This glass of wine, or rather what should have been in it, changed the course of modern pediatric healthcare." On October 12, 2024, waitress Lena Baptiste noticed something wrong with this wine being served to customer Choi Sung. She acted on instinct, knocked it away, saved his life. The wine was poisoned, tetrodotoxin, fatal within minutes. Days later, Lena herself was poisoned in retaliation. The antidote required a blood transfusion. Choi Sung was the only match. He gave her 42% of his blood volume, nearly died in the process. They both survived, fell in love, built the clinic network that now serves over 100,000 children annually across 40 cities. All because a waitress knocked over a glass of wine. All because a former criminal gave his blood without hesitation. All because two people chose to save each other in that moment and every moment that followed. Visitors to the museum often stand before that glass for long minutes. Some cry, some smile, some touch the plaque gently, reverently, like touching history. And sometimes, late at night when the museum is closed, security guards swear they see shadows by the exhibit. Two figures, one black woman, one Korean man, holding hands, looking at the glass that brought them together. The guards never report it. Some things are too beautiful to question. Some love stories are too powerful to ever really end. And sometimes all it takes to change the world is the courage to knock over a glass of wine when everything in you screams that something is wrong. That's the legacy of Lena and Choi Sung. Not the clinics, though those matter. Not the lives saved, though those count. But the lesson that one moment of courage, one choice to act when others would freeze, can ripple across generations, can save a life, can create love, can transform poison into medicine, can change everything. The glass of wine sits in its museum case, a monument to the moment everything changed, to the black waitress who trusted her instincts, to the Korean mafia boss who learned what love meant, to the blood they shared, to the life they built, to the love that saved them both, and to the simple, powerful truth that sometimes what happens next truly is shocking. Not because of the danger or the drama or the near death, but because of what comes after, when poison becomes medicine, when enemies become lovers, when blood to blood saves two lives instead of one, when a moment of courage becomes a lifetime of love. That's the shock. That's the miracle. That's the story of Lena and Choi Sung, the black waitress who risked everything to save a poisoned Korean mafia boss. And what happened next? They saved each other forever.